I got a review for you here on the channel today, and we are going to take a look at the Elite Archery Flex Recurve Riser and Limb Combo. This is a traditional style bow, and I'm excited to shoot it because this is the first bow that I've actually shot from Elite Archery. I haven't shot it yet. I have opened it up, and what I'm going to do is I'll show you a close-up view of the actual bow, let you know what I think about it, go outside and shoot it as well, tune it and set it up, and give you some feedback on how this bow actually shoots and feels. I will have links down in the description below to this actual setup, as well as all the other gear that I'm using in this video in case you're interested in grabbing one of these. Please check down in the description below for those links if you wouldn't mind. It genuinely helps this channel out. And also, full disclosure, I did get this bow for free from Elite Archery, from the outdoor group, for the sake of reviewing this bow on the channel. However, when I do that and I receive the bows for free, I do it under one condition, that I will be honest no matter what. However, if I do find an issue, say if something doesn't work out, something's not assembling correctly, or, you know, I'm just really noticing a big problem with the piece of equipment, I will reach out to the company first and ask them in case maybe there's a defect, maybe I'm doing something wrong or something, right? And so I give them kind of first right of refusal, but I still tell the truth. I just will also include the company's response down in the description below if there's any sort of issue. So with that out of the way, I'm going to cut the tag off the bow. It's just some basic information that's on it that you would see hanging in a shop, basically telling you that you can adjust the length of the actual bow itself, because this riser is actually adjustable from 17 to 19 inches, which is actually pretty cool. And I guess I should address this too. I did dislocate and break my fingers while hiking, so yeah, got those a bit immobilized in case anyone asks. That's why. There are plunger holes here, so a rest and things like that could be shot off the bow, but there's also this shelf plate deal that you can adjust, which looks like the height and the center shot. So there's some tunability to this traditional bow. It's not just strictly off the shelf because of the little rest plate tab thing. But, you know, first glance, look at it, the fit and finish, or just the finish. It looks pretty good. It looks to be like some sort of Cerakote would be my guess, just looking at it. The hardware on the bow, the limb bolts, are very interesting. I think you actually adjust the draw weight from back here, and it's loose hardware, but I imagine when it's strung, it pulls it forward. Oh yeah, that's weird. So what's very interesting about this is the whole pocket moves, and you can see that that bolt, you know, moves. So the whole thing is floating, but the actual bow pieces seem to be all Cerakoted. So the riser, the pockets, everything looks to be all Cerakoted, with the exception of the adjuster plate here is anodized. The quality of the Cerakote seems to be fairly good. I don't see any issues, milling marks, or real severe issues in the actual quality of the riser itself. I mean, I can see machine marks like on these flat surfaces here underneath the coating, and the coating is quite thick. And then you can see a bit of dirt nibs. Like the prep on this wasn't the best in this area. You can see a lot of like specks and lots of dirt and dust, which is, you know, it's not a big deal. It's just something I'm noticing. And the grip is very traditional. It is not high performance in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. You know, it feels like a grip, I guess. Compared to my trad bow, they're pretty much identical as far as the feel is concerned. You know, my trad bow, it feels good in the hand. It's not a big deal. It's not high performance in that I don't feel super locked into the most ideal position like I do with my Olympic style recurve shooting my grips. But it's a, you know, comfortable grip, and it feels like other traditional style bows. So if you're into that, you'll be very comfortable with it as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the screws off the side of the pocket, and then probably take this bolt off, and I bet the whole pocket comes off. Really wish there was more information that came with it. I'm sure it's available on their website, but let's pretend I'm somewhere and I don't have any internet connection, because a lot of the places that people shoot these bows don't have internet connections. Very greasy bolt. Lots of like literal grease. So you can see inside the riser there's actual grease, which is good. It's not going to rust that way, but it's not exactly the cleanest thing to swap. So now that I got it apart, there was a dowel that goes through this hole, that goes through these slots, that it pulls in and out. And the actual tiller bolt itself, I guess, that thing, is securely and permanently bolted into place into the actual pocket. So it's very different. You're not adjusting this portion at all. You're only adjusting the back portion. And the way that it pivots, I'm assuming the side bolts pinch down to try to lock the actual draw weight. And then each location, whether that's in the 17-inch configuration, like so, or the 19-inch configuration, like that, there are indicators on the side of the riser there, those lines, for draw weight. So it's interesting and adjustable. All right, so as I took this piece off, this is the pivot for the upper portion of the pocket that everything pivots on. And it wasn't really tight. It was just kind of barely finger tight, because now that it's tight, it didn't have that feel to it being tight. So now that it's tight for sure, that won't come loose. So it looks like the actual pivoting bolts, or the pivot here for the ILF system, is just using set screws on either side to push it back and forth, and it will pivot on that bolt there. So pretty standard adjustment and movement as far as the actual alignment system is concerned. And it appears that there's at least some sort of indicator with a point up here and a line to go kind of back to factory settings. It's not currently in the center, so I wonder if they aligned this bow before they sent it to me. That's entirely possible. I'm going to shoot it in the 19-inch configuration. My draw is somewhere in the neighborhood of 29 inches, so it'll feel a little smoother for me. Now, also in the package, it comes with 2 Flemish twist strings, one for the 19-inch configuration and one for the 17-inch configuration. And it looks like they both have some sort of string silencers on them as well. I don't know what brand or name those would be called, but they are integrated into the string. And they do have center serving on them, but no knocking points. And they're a neutral gray color. So that's nice that it came with both size strings, so that way I can shoot it right away out of the box and I don't have to worry about ordering any or building them myself. And the actual limbs come in limb sleeves, which is nice. The riser didn't come in any limbs, or a riser sleeve rather. Pretty standard. They're a little oversized, which makes them easier to get stuff in and out of, especially if you put limb savers or something like that on the limbs. So the limbs are what looks like bamboo core. Yeah, it says it right on it actually. Carbon bamboo core. They are made in China. I actually know what company that makes these based on the hardware. There's several reviews that I've done on the channel lately, and I'm seeing this hardware show up on more and more bows. And I believe they're all coming out of the same factory that is making a lot of limbs actually for lots of different companies out there. The hardware seems nice. The actual finish looks really even. It's a nice matte finish. The bow definitely has been strung before. Just looking at it, I can see marks from the string on the limbs. So I'm guessing that they must have strung this bow up and checked it. But like I said, the finish, it's actually pretty nice. Nice and matte. And I don't see any of the similar kinds of dirt nibs on it like I did with the actual riser. The limbs are finished really nice, really even clear coat. Some very subtle graphics on the back. Look fairly standard. The clear coat is not very heavy or very thick, which is nice. I'm not seeing anything crazy, anything really far off. Now the stiffness, the torsional stiffness of the limb, it's not the highest, it's not the lowest either. I would say it's maybe mid-grade as far as the actual resistance to twisting is concerned. You would want a very torsionally stable limb to potentially take away errors that you make when you are releasing the string. But otherwise, you know, it's nothing to really complain about. It's just they're definitely not as torsionally stiff as they could be. Do my check that I normally do and see how the fitment is on the tiller bolt. Normally I do this for tournament style bows because I want to see the tolerance of the fitment here, and it's very, very loose. That is just kind of one of the things that I found over the years is something that's a little bit lacking on bows these days. So I don't know if this is undersized or if these are oversized. I'll check really quick. But if you want to learn more information about this riser to limb interface and how important this is, and ultimately some issues that I've seen with this and what it causes, I'll have links in the description below and a card at the top up there to a video that I did specifically addressing this issue, so I don't have to drone on for a half hour to let you know again. I've already made a dedicated video for that. So I'm going to quick measure that and just check where the tolerances are. The lower limb is actually well within spec. It's measuring at 374 thousandths of an inch, which is actually right where it needs to be. 375 should be what it is. That's 3/8 of an inch, and 374 as well on the upper. Yeah, so the tiller bolt, or what would be a tiller bolt, is 371.5 thousandths of an inch, and the other one is 371 thousandths of an inch. So they should be spec'd right around 373 to 375 is what should be acceptable. So they're a little undersized, but the actual limbs going in and out, very easy. So putting it together and breaking it down is going to be very simple for you. That's really why most of these are a little bit out of spec, is because they want to see that it comes out very easy. But for me, tighter is always better. See if I can string it with my hand. It's a short bow. Great. Strung very easy. Limbs still need to set in, but the bow itself is very, very short compared to what I normally shoot with a recurve. So it'll be very interesting to see how these limbs feel on such a short riser. I believe I ordered 40-pound limbs. Yeah, so it feels pretty good actually. It'll be fun to shoot, I think. Probably get decent performance out of it. So because I can, I'm going to align this bow like I do my Olympic style recurve bows, where I use a known straight stabilizer and I put it in the stabilizer bushing as my reference point for the actual center of the bow. And then I'll use biter blocks to use as a visual reference guide on the actual limbs to make sure that the limbs are set in the center of the riser, and then they're also aligned to each other. This distance is so short, so when you make it much longer by using a reference of a stabilizer, it's much easier to get everything in line, because once they're straight, the bow behaves much better, the vibration is much less, and overall it's more of a pleasure to shoot. So that's why I'm doing it this way. And if you are interested in learning about how I tune and set up my bows with a bit of a manual or a guide, I'm going to recommend this book here. It's called Tuning for Performance. It's a book I wrote where I take you through, just like I am here, taking the bow out of the box, getting it together, not this bow in particular, but the other bows that I normally shoot, and getting them ready for competing at the Olympic Games or World Championships or some other high-level event. So if you're interested in that, like I said, you can head to my website and it's available there. But for now, we'll just get this bow preliminarily set up and get a center shot set after I get the limbs aligned. And it's actually pretty close. The top limb's almost dead on, the bottom's off just a little bit. All right, so that's just an adjustment hardware piece that came out of the actual pocket with a little plastic tip on it. It wasn't really tight, it came out very easily. So because of that one hardware piece on the top rocker and this adjustment here, I'm suspecting that just about every bow is going to come a little bit on the loose side. So before you shoot stuff, you should actually shoot it, you should actually tighten everything before you shoot it. And as I'm tightening this side up, it's shifting the limb. So just beware that you may need to go through and make sure all your hardware is tight on your bow before you set it up and dial it in. Okay, just like that, it's done as far as the alignment's concerned. It would have taken less than half of the time, even though it took about 5 minutes at the most. I think it could have taken less time because those plastic tips on the actual adjusters are crushing as you tighten them in. And for me to have them tight to a sufficient level where I really think it's not going to move, I really like to tighten them down. So as I was chasing with one side to tighten this enough to where I feel like it wouldn't move, it was crushing this side as the block was moving over. So I had to chase it back and forth until I sufficiently kind of mushroomed those plastic tips probably inside the bow. For me, I'd rather it be metal to metal personally, because that's really not a positive enough connection to be super solid to be sure that it's never going to move on me. So I'm not sure which arrows I'm actually going to shoot, but I'm going to try shooting these Easton Axis 400 traditional arrows on this bow first. But yeah, the arrow is way inside of center. So what I'm going to do is first put this felt on the actual rest plate itself, because that'll change my center shot as it is. It'll move it out, and then if I need to adjust the plate from there, I will. So actually, just with that felt piece on there, the center shot is actually quite good. It's sticking out just a little bit, which I like to see. So the actual vertical support doesn't come out very far. So I don't know if putting felt on the bottom will be helpful or not, but I'm going to try it. So this is what it's looking like with the actual felt in place. So you can see I've got it on the side plate and on the bottom plate there. So it'll sit on there real nice. So as I'm drawing back, you know, it's not making any noise at all. So next thing, I'm going to head outside after I get these nocking points tied on, and we'll get this bow all tuned up, and I'll let you know how it actually feels, because it sure looks nice. It's very, very flat, which is really nice because this could be used for hunting very easily. So nothing very shiny on the bow at all is really a good thing to see. So it's another day and I'm here outside now, and I've made a few changes to the bow since I left off last inside. One of those is nocking points. So now I've got a nocking point above and below. Those are adjustable so I can spin them up and down the string as needed with the bow. I also added on the Kaminsky Archery dampened barebow weight that fits the classification and rules for barebow, but I have a buddy that I sent this thing to a long time ago, and he said it worked super well on his trad bow on his hunting rig. And so it's got a damper built inside. It weighs 21 ounces, and it should take out a good amount of vibration and give me a little bit more stability in the system on the actual aiming portion of the shot, and remove a bit of vibration and a bit of noise as well. If you're interested in checking these out, we offer them in silver and in black and in a few different sizes, meaning weights. And the other thing that I did add was this Arcor barebow grip on this bow. So this is a grip I designed, and I work with Arcor to put these grips into production. They come in various different shapes and sizes and angles and colors, and they fit your bow. So this thing was specifically printed to fit this flex riser, and it went on right like a glove. And you know, I said the grip was meh, you know, it felt like other traditional style grips, but I like a little bit more defined edge and a bit flatter platform, and something with a little bit more traction to actually keep my hand consistently in the grip. And this thing is perfect, just like I designed it. If you're interested in grabbing one of these Arcor grips, there's links down in the description below on where to grab them. And if you use code Kaminsky at checkout, you'll get 10% off at all of their gear, not just the stuff that I make in the I am category, but all of the ones that they offer, all the different grips and tabs and everything else. It'll get you 10% off at checkout. So with that being said, I got the bow preliminarily set up, as I already covered, but I found one issue. If you pluck the string, even with this dampened barebow weight on, the top pocket, if you remember correctly, that's the one I took apart. And I found a bunch of different loose components, right? Well, now it's all loose down in the bottom. So the little rocker bit here. So that rattling is coming absolutely 100% from that area. All right, now I got the tiller all dialed in, and I decided to go with an 1/8 inch negative tiller, so I'm an 1/8 inch bigger on the bottom than the top. I'm doing this because it's a shorter bow, and I'm gonna do 3 under with my tab here, and I'm gonna dial the bow in first, get a good decent tune, and then maybe we'll do a little bit of fun shooting. I guess review completed. I don't have anything more to do at this point. Bow feels pretty good though. Not a ton of limb oscillation after the shot, just a little bit. Pretty quiet. Yeah, I mean the bow jumps pretty well. I'm not really feeling a lot. I definitely feel some big limb oscillations, but a lot less than what I was expecting, to be honest. Draw is nice and smooth. And, you know, at this point I'm just flinging arrows, but I'm just kind of getting an idea as to what the rough tune is. Bear shaft hit far to the right, so I don't know if I'd have to dial the center shot or the bow weight. I don't know. It's kind of nice to have it a slightly lighter draw weight like this. This would make a nice bow fishing bow for sure. All right, I'm gonna shoot the gold tip 500s and see if they perform any different. Definitely still turning sideways, point to the right. So something is definitely needed in the center shot or something here. Draw weight. So I'm kind of gap-stinctive at the moment. Like I said, the bow feels good though. Shoot a bear shaft. So almost the exact same reaction where it's heading to the right. So I think I'm gonna bump the rest plate out and see if that's helpful at all. The knocking point seems to be relatively close, at least with these arrows. Yeah. Pretty much identical results with both of those arrows. So I'm gonna go down and collect the arrows, and then I'm just gonna use the screw in the backside and push the rest plate out, make the center shot further out, and see if that changes the tune at all. I'm gonna go get them, make the adjustments, see what happens. So I know that most traditional people, at least I think, they shoot stuff through paper. I know that that can be an option, and I'm okay with that. I'm very comfortable with shooting bear shafts, and I know kind of what to do there, and I can clearly tell that the arrow's turning sideways when I let it go anyway. So the bear shaft's doing a good job of giving me a rough representation as to what the actual arrow's doing. Yeah, so I just moved that rest plate out, and it moved out very easily, slid out, honestly, very simply. So we'll see if that made any difference at all. I'll shoot both sets of arrows again. Bear shaft right away. Honestly, I think it actually helped a good amount. It doesn't look nearly as far to the right. It's actually a fun bow to shoot. See what the 500s do. These arrows are bigger diameter. They're slightly longer. They also have a little bit heavier points. I have even heavier ones in my quiver too. And I'm not bumping up against the arrow. I'm crawling somewhat down using the bottom knocking point as my reference, as my locator. Still a little wonky arrow flight, but not too bad. Got 2 bare shafts now. That wasn't a good shot. Ignore that one. Much better shot. So it moved it in a little bit, but not a ton. So I think I'm gonna go up and draw weight. I'm gonna bump it up 2 turns, see what happens, and shoot another round. But overall, as far as like what I'm feeling in the Elite Archery Flex is it's very smooth. I'm using it in the 19-inch riser configuration at the moment. It is very, very smooth for what I am used to because, you know, I've been shooting my Reflex Deflex longbow and it definitely has a much more linear draw curve, whereas recurves typically tend to be a little smoother, right? And I'm not really concerned, but I was assuming that because it's so short, I would feel the bow stacking more, and towards the end of my draw, I'd feel more of like a longbow type of feel where it's more linear. But it still is quite smooth. I think the limb bolts are out a decent amount. The pocket angle is quite relaxed. So as I up the draw weight, I'm sure I'll start to feel a little bit more stacking, but it is surprisingly smooth. And I would say that the bow jumps pretty well. It jumps a little bottom pocket heavy, but you know, I have only a weight here. I don't have really anywhere to put it up top. And there is a spot down below the grip that I could put more weight to, but I don't feel the need to make the thing any heavier, and it holds really well. It's very stable, and the noise is fairly minimal. I think with some better silencing here or there, maybe some beaver balls and things like that, probably quiet it down a little bit more than these rubber deals. I don't even know what they are, but they don't look like they're doing a whole lot as far as I'm concerned with actually quieting down the string oscillation, because that's what I'm still hearing. Is the limbs, the humming of the string reverberating through the limbs more than anything. So I think some beaver balls, maybe even a set of limb savers in this bow would be real quiet, and it would definitely be something I'd be interested in taking out in the stand. But I think that so far it's quite good, but I want to make it a little bit better, at least for the arrow flight. All right, so I'm gonna bump this up like 2 turns. I do like how easy it is to adjust the draw weight. Make sure the hardware is nice and tight. I forgot about the side ones. Brace height still looks reasonable. As far as the string grooves and the limbs, as far as how they're cut, let's see, 2 turns, should be a decent amount of draw weight. Yeah, now it feels a little more. Okay, something I'm seeing that I'm not really liking. It's going to be hard for me to show you, but I'll do my best. So the limbs did align. However, the bottom limb tracking, I'm not seeing the greatest tracking. So let's see if I can adjust this for you. So what I want you to look at, I'm going to do my best to pull the bow back and show you the string in the center of the limb, and then I'm going to let it down slowly. So right now, if you get this perspective like this, you can see the string is in the center of the limb, right? So you can see how this part of the string is in the center of the riser down here like that. So when I pull it back, I want to try to get you the same perspective right there. So you can see the limb still looks straight despite it being pulled back, as long as I'm centering the string in this portion of the limb and the riser. So if I flip it around and now I'm doing just the bottom, you'll see from here, string's in the center of the riser down here, and the string looks like it's centered in the limb. When I pull it back like this, center it, you can see that the string is sitting over towards this side, the right side of the limb. And when I let it down, it hits the right side and then pops in the groove. When I pull the bow back like this and let it down, did you hear that? Again, pull it back, let it down. pop, pull it back, let it down. All right, now I can show you. See how it's not sitting in the center of the limb groove, and that click is it popping into place. So the limb's not tracking straight. And it looks like, to me, it has to do with the limb tip filing. If you look at it closely, you'll see that this side is cut deeper. It's cut further into the center than this side. So I already made a video on how to straighten your limbs up using a file. And so what I could do is take a small file out and actually file these by hand to adjust them so they track dead straight. So it's not, in my opinion, that the limb is twisted. It does not look like it's twisted. To me, it looks like that the limb tip isn't filed the same left and right. Now the top looks totally fine. And like I said, when I track it, it looks good. So if you look at the top, it's far more even than the bottom. So kind of something I can't adjust. It's something I'm going to reach out to Elite and ask them about and see what their response is on that. Like I said, it's not a twisted limb. It's a limb tip that's not filed the same. Very small adjustment needed. And unless somebody in quality control is sitting there and checking the tracking of the limb, it's really just one of those things. So yeah, needs a little work, but not the end of the world. It'll shoot the same each shot because it is a machine. However, if I make mistakes, it could throw it one direction more than the other if I made the same exact mistake in the opposite direction. So there's really no way to tell at this moment how much of an effect that has, but it is definitely something that I think, you know, from the factory, it should be pretty straight. So 2 pounds more, 2 turns more. Oh wait, no, should be the other way. I made that mistake. I should have gone down in draw weight, not up. So apparently we all make mistakes, right? We'll go down 1, 2, so I'm back to 0, down 1, down 2. Okay, hopefully there's a stop as far as the limit all the way out. Just been so used to needing to add bow weight, draw weight to make my arrows tune, so I'm really glad that I could actually go down in draw weight. All right, let's try these Axis 400s. Bow feels really nice now. Still, you can hear the limbs and the string vibrating off the limbs. Even some of the strip, the felt that I've got here, if I put it up in the grooves, probably make it much quieter as well. Really close. Still a little point to the right. Not bad. Still a little point right. Really glad they had a darker string like this gray. It's actually quite a nice color. Way weak. Maybe I'll bump the rest back in, see if that does anything. I mean, they're overall flying better. I mean, they are very long arrows, so makes sense. You know, I went from the cut to center shot reflex deflex longbow. That is my JT Traditional Archery Zeus. So going to this bow with a proper center shot should make the arrows much weaker, which I'm seeing, and they're super long. They're full length, so it makes sense. This is just not something I was anticipating actually needing to adjust. So the 400s actually are really, really close. So all I did was move the rest plate back in, and we'll see how that goes. even closer actually, that it's good enough to at least play with. From here, I definitely would want to increase the draw weight. It's not very much right now, and maybe for fun, I'll just leave it like this so I don't have to, you know, kill myself with some draw weight and just enjoy shooting some archery at some lighter draw, because this bow is quite fun to shoot. But if I was going to really get serious with it, I would definitely shorten the arrows up, bring the broadhead in much closer, because then I could go up and draw weight, get that arrow speed up a little bit more, because my draw weight right now, I'm guessing, is... it's in the mid 30s, mid to upper 30s, probably 30, 38, 35 to 38, somewhere in that range. But it is smooth and enjoyable to shoot at the moment. And, you know, I've been really having to shoot a fair amount of draw weight lately because of some of the reviews that I've done. I needed to go up into a different spine arrow, which required me to shoot much more draw weight than what I wanted. So this is a bit of a breath of fresh air as far as I'm concerned. And the bow feels great and starting to get it dialed in. So one more end, and then give you some parting thoughts on this Elite Archery Flex. So what I'm doing is I kind of put my point in the same place, kind of set my gap, and then now I'm looking at the middle, just trying to shoot a good shot. It's very weird, very different. I've been trying all sorts of new things lately, but it's not too bad actually. Yeah, so still a little off. I can't go down and draw weight anymore. I would need to totally shorten these arrows, which is great because I would like to get them a couple inches shorter. But I think still overall this was a good experience for me to get an idea as to what a short ILF riser can still feel like, because it still feels quite smooth. I don't have to fight it as much as I thought I would, because like the Reflex D-Flex longbow is a totally different feel, and it's very linear in the way that it draws. I still like the smoothness of these recurve limbs as far as the way they draw, much better compared to the, you know, longbow style trad bow. It just, I like how I can get back until I start to feel some tension. And I don't have to feel the tension so low. Overall though, this bow does shoot really well. It feels great, and I'm quite pleasantly surprised actually. Like I've already said, not shot such a short ILF riser, and I'm just still shocked as to how smooth it feels. So let's cover my overall thoughts, closing thoughts on this Elite Archery Flex. I'm definitely going to be doing some more content with this bow though. That's my first thought. I just want to dial it in a little bit better. Now I can shoot my Easton Axis 400s and shoot them at a much more reasonable length with a little bit more draw weight out of this bow. So I'll be doing that in the future, looking at getting a little bit more performance out of the system and making the bow quieter. So I'll be doing that shortly in the near future, and I'm excited to actually get into a bit more of that kind of content. Now, as far as the actual bow, some things that I think they did well is the pocket adjustment seems to have a very large range of draw weight, which I'm very happy to see. I think that the finish of the riser is nice. The Cerakote is actually quite thick. When I was prying off the stock grip with a knife, I kind of slipped and dug into the riser in the front over here, and I can barely even see the mark. It's on the inside of where the fillet is towards the grip side, not this side over here. So you can't really see it, but the coating is really thick and I don't even see bare metal. So I'm happy to see that it should withstand years of use out in the field and shouldn't ding up too bad, I'm hoping, because, you know, it's a nice looking setup. The actual quality of the finish itself is decent. They could have done a little bit better with the prep as far as dirt is concerned, but overall it's very matte and the feel to it is very nice. So I have no complaints, no tactile, odd, awful situations there. With the rest hair stuff, it's actually quite nice because it makes the bow much quieter when you draw it back. It's as if there's no arrow in the bow, so I'm a fan of that. The Breast plate is aluminum, it seems to be, also Cerakoted. So as that moves and adjusts, it shouldn't wear out, shouldn't take any sort of abuse because it is aluminum. But now that I have that little whatever moleskin or felt or whatever it is, it should protect it a lot as well. The limbs themselves, they look nice. The finish on them looks very nice. The bamboo looks nice. Everything looks nice. The graphics look great. They're very smooth. They don't stack a ton, even though the riser is very short. I didn't run them all the way in, so I don't have any feedback as far as that's concerned all the way in. My arrows would not handle that for sure because they're way too weak as it is. The strings are very nice. I'm glad that it came with both strings for the short and long configuration of the riser, 17 and 19 inch. And, you know, I think that there's a lot going for it. And I like the adjustment to go from 19 to 17. I think that's pretty cool. Alignment seemed to go fine. Everything aligned great, except for the plastic tips that adjust the adjustment left and right. They crushed. And so when I was tightening one side, it actually moved the adjustment. So I'd rather see those not made out of plastic and have it just be metal to metal contact. I don't think that there's a need for it to be plastic like that. And I do not like that it didn't come with a manual. I'm sure there's a QR code somewhere in there that I could have scanned, but what happens if you're at camp and you got this bow and you don't know or can't access the internet? So you're just gonna set it up, right? So kind of that's what I did. I could align it, get it figured out, not a problem. Played with the limb pockets. Unfortunately, I found everything as far as the hardware was concerned is loose on the bow. Tightened everything up. So now there's no more unnecessary rattles. And, you know, like I said, the grip was, it's okay. Feels like a trad grip. So I swapped my own of a grip that I prefer from Arcor. And then, honestly, the biggest issue was the limb tips. So the top's great. Top limb tracks. Bottom limb tracks a bit off to the one side. And I am reaching out to Elite. I'm reaching out to the outdoor group, actually. And we'll see what they have to say. Unfortunately, it's just kind of one of those things that happens, and it's stuff that has happened over the better part of my career, honestly. So even the highest quality limbs had limb tracking issues straight out of the factory up until probably sometime in the 2010 time frame is when that stopped. But prior to that, every limb that you bought basically had to be filed by hand to make them track straight. It's just one of those things that we did at the top levels. And it's something I'd be very comfortable with doing. I'd have to reseal the limb up because it is wood core. Don't want it to absorb moisture in spots that it can't in others, right? You want it to just be even. You don't want it to absorb any moisture, but, you know, I don't want to leave it exposed. So, you know, that is a bit of an unfortunate experience with mine. If there's a response from Elite, I will have that response down in the description below for you to check out. I'm sure they'll have something to say because it shouldn't be happening, but mistakes happen. It's just a quality control issue, and I'm sure they can get that sorted out. Really not that big of a deal. I've shot bows way worse than this at way more important tournaments than shooting on camera in front of YouTube. And it's fine. You know, it's a machine. It's going to do the same thing. However, like I said, it could have a tendency to throw one arrow one direction more so than if you made the same mistake the other direction, meaning it's not exactly forgiving. Maybe not towards the one direction the limb's bending. There's really no way to know at this point. It's just a guess because there's just no way to test that at the moment. Maybe in the future. So yeah, it was a shock actually to have to go down in draw weight to get my arrows attuned because I've had to increase draw weight or make the arrows weaker pretty much in every single video for the last almost better part of a year. So it was funny that I said, actually, I've got to go up in draw weight. Well, wait, no, I don't have to. I had to go down in draw weight to get these arrows attuned a little bit better. And I got it dialed in a little bit better here with the Axis 400. So overall, I'm actually pleasantly surprised with the feel of the bow. I like the adjustability from 17 to 19 inch. I've never shot such a short riser, and maybe I'll just bump it into the 17 inch configuration to play with it when I put the beaver balls on the strings, put the limb savers on, get the arrows cut, get a little bit more performance out of the bow because it felt so smooth at my draw, 29 inches, even though the bow right now is in a 62 inch configuration, I believe. Because this is a mighty, mighty short setup when it's on the ground. You know, it's only coming up to my chin. So it's very cool to have such a short setup be so smooth on the draw, even well past my draw length. So I hope you like this video. If you have suggestions on what kind of round or game or something I should shoot with a traditional bow when I'm done doing a review after I set it up and get it roughly tuned, right? Because normally, like I said, with a target style bow, I'll go shoot some sort of round, an indoor round, an outdoor round or something. I kind of want to build some sort of a field-esque course on the property here. I've got a bunch of different targets. I want to set them up at different distances with different faces. I got a 3D animal as well. It's just a deer, and you know, kind of walk around the property and enjoy using more of it for filming some content. So maybe I'll do something like that where I just kind of set up a random hodgepodge of target distances and target sizes and just shoot it, and maybe like kind of have a standardized round that I take things through after I do my setup portion of the review, get a little bit more feedback as far as how the bow performs. Don't know yet. Any ideas, I'd appreciate them down in the description, or down in the comment section rather. And also let me know what you think about this bow, and if you have any more questions about it or things you're looking to find out about it, let me know, because when I make future videos I'll make sure to answer those questions. In case you got something, just like I said, comment below and let me know. And if you're interested in grabbing any of the gear I used in this video, anything that I referenced, I will have links in the description below. When you click those links before you shop there, genuinely it helps this channel out. Some of those links I do offer discount codes, some of them I don't. Those ones still help the channel out when you click those before you shop there. And also, if you haven't yet, please do hit that subscription button and the notification bell down below. Consider supporting this channel, as well as consider sharing these videos. All that stuff genuinely helps this channel out, helps this channel grow. I'm not sponsored by anyone, and even though Elite sent me this bow for the sake of a review, I'm brutally honest, and I will reach out to them to see what they have to say about the limb, so that way you can know exactly what happened and what they think about it down in the description.